Hello, and thank you for joining me today on Plan to Paint. We have our 18 by 24 inch stretched canvas already prepped with our base white. And we are going to start off by adding in some sky. We're just going to pull down a little bit of Prussian blue. Work that into your brush a little bit. And a little bit of the turquoise. We're going to make a kind of a pretty blue sky today. We're going to leave little bits of white here and there as clouds floating around. So we're just going to kind of drop in our color. And because we're going to have some water, we're going to bring a little bit extra turquoise as we get down towards the bottom. So we're going to start bringing this across. And kind of blending it out as much as we can. And kind of leaving some of that white through as placeholders for clouds. We'll add some definition to those clouds a little bit later. And I just kind of randomly placed them. I didn't have any actual plan in place for where those clouds should live in the sky. We got to work it in a little bit more work on the bottom end to help lighten up that sky as it comes down. Get that blue off the brush here. I'm going to work this into the canvas. Okay, crisscross strokes as we go along. Trying to make sure we leave some of those white areas a little bit untouched or lightly touched. And just like that, we start to have a complete sky. With those various clouds kind of obscuring. Just gonna break this line up a little bit here. We're going to pick up a little bit more of the turquoise, just a tiny amount, and work that on the bristles down here. And we're going to do our work in from the outside. Get that sunlight reflecting across the water. I'm going to work this out a little bit more. Kind of give it more of an even, calm feeling to it. Break down some of the streaks that are kind of heavy in here. And this is a bit of a result of not having it evenly distributed on the brush. There were some particular hairs that had more and left down a heavier. And try to keep them as horizontal as you can. That'll help with flow. Up a little bit of waves and ripples that appear out in your A bit of a hair there. So it gives you that nice little sheen here where the skylight is reflecting most off of the center of the water. And so next up, I like to put in mountains actually. And the reason I like to do that is they're a nice solid object. They're kind of an unchanging object. They kind of just anchor the painting. Now we won't always be doing mountains, but for today, I want to get a set of mountains out there, kind of just holding the piece in place. It's sort of like that foundation or rock, because they don't change in appearance all that much. The snow line, they're up high enough, they get snow all year. They hold that snow all year long, and then the scenery kind of changes around them, and they just kind of become a central point. So we're going to bring down a little bit of Van Dyke brown, a little bit of alizarin crimson, just a touch of the Prussian blue, and a little bit of black. We're going to work this out. Cut across. And let's see here. I got that. I think we'll start with a distance setback in here. I want this to be a little bit sharper peak here, so I'm just going to leave this a little bit small back in here. Maybe he's got a smaller little friend down here, his cousin. It's always interesting as you start laying these out. They just kind of are floating out there in your sky. And they look very out of place. But we'll take this and we'll just drag it down. Careful not to ruin your edge. Nice sharp edges you created. And just pull it with the flow, with the direction of your land. Angles of your peaks and valleys. And you have to turn your brush sometimes to follow that out, and we're just going to very lightly kind of mist this one up a little bit, blending it into the background. It's going to create some mist effects. You can even tap a little bit if you want along this mountain. Just don't disturb that outer edge. It's that sharp edge that really brings the focus to them, gives them their character. And you just slightly pull up with your flow of your land. We're going to take this and add a little bit of, bring down some liquid white into this. It's just a touch of the color we had. I want it to be very light. And since we've just got a clear blue sky, we don't really have any any variations in color really. It's just going to be a kind of a light gray. And we'll just kind of add in some highlight here. A little bit more isn't good enough together to start with. You just got to keep in mind what's facing your sun, where your sun as the light sources in the picture are. You're just kind of lightly tapping here, barely touching the canvas, just let the paint pull off of your knife. And we're going to actually bring this right now, because I pulled this across. This one looks like it's in front. We're actually going to use the shadow values. We're going to push that one back. So just a touch of, we'll bring down some Prussian blue into this. You don't want to go real dark with it. And so we'll bring this on here. I'm just barely touching the knife to the canvas. And we're going to pull this one right on down through. You want to leave it broken up as much as you can. That creates nooks and crannies. That you can't make out the detail of, but you can tell they're there. Bring this down. So we have these distant mountains. And we're going to do this thing again, pull up a little bit from the base. We want to, even the snow is disappearing into some mist here. Alright, today we're going to have an even closer set of mountains. So we're going to bring a little bit more black down into our mountain color, darken it up a little bit, make it a little more crimson, and add a little bit of sap green to this. Start getting in some more color, but darker. And some big decisions here too. You know, this one's going to live where? You know, we have a big peak here. It's going to cut out and cross these ones. So just kind of lay them out on the canvas here, pulling some of this paint down. Don't want too flat of a top here. And actually, I think this one's going to be a little bit higher. We're going to let him be in the back. Refill this in too with our base color here. Clean off our palette knife. Go back to our mountain brush we've got going here. Clean off some of that blue off of there, and we're gonna reach up in here and we're gonna pull this paint down. Again, careful not to disturb that edge. Following the contours of our lands, contours of our mountains. Get this one to be in front of these ones, so we're going to cut this one right across. As you're doing this in your mind, you know, start planning where you're going to have your light hitting And since I want this one in the past, I'm going to do it in the back. I'm going to pull it down first. And this one's going to come right across it. Tap a little bit to give it some mistiness. And now we need to take, we're going to use pretty much a straight white. We're just going to pull some of this down, a little bit of liquid white in there, across, and we're just going to barely touching the canvas. Just a little bit back in here, getting the light treatment. And I think this is still going to be in more light here, so we're going to add a little more highlights out in this way. Because it's getting pretty full light here, it should be pretty bright. Alright, now we're going to add a little bit of Prussian blue to this, bring down use some of the blue from our previous one. We'll bring down a little bit more Prussian blue into that, darken it up a little bit more. More contrast as we come forward from the distance, so we're just going to yeah, look at that. Beautiful. If you find yourself running out, just make a little bit more. A little light there in that, so we're going to add a little bit more touches in there. Brighten it up just a little bit more. I know it's in shadow, but it shouldn't be lost in shadow completely. Alright, I think that's a little better. Alright, we're just going to lightly pull up a little bit on this bottom here. All right. So now that we have our sky in place and our mountains in place, I think it's time to put in some land. Let's see here. What do we want for our land? A pond here, some trees and land. Get something going on back in here. We're just going to take a little bit of. We're just going to kind of lift up with it. This was a clean dry brush, and we're just going to slightly pull up on it. A little bit higher. Gives us the indication of a bunch of little trees out there way in the distance. Just kind of breaks up the background a bit more. And we'll go the whole way across here. See that the valley kind of comes down together at the center here. And by having multiple planes in here, you get a feel there's a lot going on in there. Almost looks like some snow, weeds poking up through the snow, but once we get some more on here, I think it'll push it further back and it'll be more appearing to be trees in the distance. So as we get closer to autumn, we'll bring up some yellow ochre and some sap green together. A little bit of Van Dyke brown and some black. And we're going to load up our brush here. So we want to give a base for some trees. And we're just going to tap this in here. I think we need more green in there. We need to start bringing in some color. We're going to hold our brush horizontally. A little bit of hand sticking out here. I was dragging the brush a little too much and getting some horizontal strokes in there. I don't really want to be doing that. So now we got to figure out where our bottom colors are going to start. And using the same brush, I'm going to bring down a little bit of Van Dyke brown. We're going to start laying in some tree shapes out here. And there's some bushes along here. Into those with a clean brush. And you can use this clean round brush. Take some Indian yellow, and a little bit of cad yellow. We're going to start putting in some color here. Just kind of hinting at some colors going on in the background. And now we're going to bring another layer of, the liner brush will add in some trunks for these trees, just some small indications that they have. So we're going to bring in a little black and a little bit of Van Dyke brown together. Just a touch of liquidy white. We're just going to kind of draw in some trunks for them here. Not really fancy trunks here because they're going to be mostly covered over. But you get the idea of how these trees are shaped and where their branches go. Some of these bushy types, they tend to have more of a shoots come up out of a central root system, but individual main branches sitting close to the ground. I'm not going to add much detail in here because they're far enough away you can't really get a good feel for. We're going to take that color brush and just kind of tap over top again. Obscure a little bit of the branches because there's going to be leaves on all sides. Alright, so you get a feeling that there's these trees out there. That's all we're trying to do is convey that impression, that feeling of what's going on in the scene here. Now this is where we get to get a little crazy. So we need some much larger trees. So we're going to bring down some more Van Dyke brown and more black. I think we'll bring down a little bit of crimson and sap green too as well. Add some more varying colors in there, but ultimately go to a black. You got to decide where these trees are going to live. So we've got one that's got a big branch kind of laying out here. He's going to have a bunch of little branches. Bring this all the way on down. A bit of roots out here. And notice how big of a tree is he? He's going to have another branch right here. And that needs to be strengthened. Maybe that one didn't go out quite as far. It always amazes me how things like this will break the, get that trunk that's split down there and people are like, whoa, that tree's not really a tree, is it? So it breaks the tree. And we need maybe we're gonna have a row of other smaller trees but still more prominent than the ones back there, kind of laying out in this area. You gotta make sure that everything's not in a complete row. Because as you get, one of the problems I have is I tend to make things even and symmetric, and it's not how nature works. So I have to fight that urge. He needs a few more branches. And these branches, they're going to hold color. It's one of the things I've not been able to do yet as I'm trying to do this 90 minutes wall-worthy art. My autumn colors have been very not so swell, let's say. And this one's going to have, I'm going to come down to here. Right in front of that beautiful mountain. just go right off of the page here. What do we need yet? So he's gonna have a little friend that lives much closer. Alright. So now we need to go and add some highlights. I'm going to darken this side of this trunk over here because it should be on the shaded side, so we're going to add some bit of dark on this side and same on this one too, because it picked up a lot of that color underneath and lightened itself as we went down the trunk. And I want that to be much darker. There. That's better. This side's okay because we kind of got our light up in this area. You can see it's coming in from this side. Yeah. Better match the mountains. Go ahead and darken this side a little bit too. And we can make it more prominent when we add some highlights with the palette knife here. So let's bring down a little bit of liquid white into our mixture here. And we're going to add in a little bit of highlights here. Same thing to this one here. Just give them a little bit of highlights. I like to know where the sun is in our scene. And it's these clues that tell the viewer just where the light's coming from. Gives them an orientation. Alright. Now we need to give these trees some leaves and more character. And this is generally where I start to have issues. I've yet to been able to put the proper base down that lets the highlights stand out on top and really make the trees pop. Bring down some crimson into this, I think. There probably would be a little bit back in here. Alright, I want to make these pop, and so I'm going to use a mix of bright red and cad yellow. More yellow than red. I'm going to bring down a little bit of white into this. So I want this to be, bring down some liquid white. Now, more liquid white. That's brightening it up quite a bit. Let's bring down some more. And we need a little bit more going on. The grass is down in here too, but we'll get to that here shortly. There, that's a bit better. We need some more trees going on or something in here. Let's see here. I'm feeling like it needs something more. What do we have that we can put in here? I know, we're gonna put some lighter green stuff happening down here in the ground. Do I have a brush for that? I do not currently have a brush for that. So So if I were to bring some sap green and some, what are we looking at here? All kinds of little things happening out here on the on the ground out here. Got some Indian yellow on this. I think that one's going to have a little bit of red out here in it. So red sitting back in here. We are not done with the trees. I want a really bright, yes. So I'm going to take some Van Dyke brown, a little bit of black, a little bit of crimson, a little bit of sap green. Let's get that stuck to the board so it doesn't roll off here. And we are just doing a big, big, big old tree right here. Get this rolled around here and get me a more thin. I need to really load it up with paint. He's gonna have a nice big thick trunk here. He wouldn't swoop back in here. He's just gonna come out thicker here. really get your attention. Stuff going on here in his trunk. Big old root. And he is a masterpiece of color. And we keep that one for doing our water. And we are going to clean this brush. We're going to go right into some crimson and some black. Just using that bottom corner of the brush. And we're laying in the color. You don't want to destroy what you got behind it necessarily, but you do want to add some leaves for this one. To that we're going to add some highlights, but first let's add some highlights to the trunk itself. So we're going to bring down some of the liquid white again into our trunk mixture. A little bit of titanium white. And he's got some light shining through up in here. You can see it coming off of the branches up in there, a little bit sticking out on here, some white catching in there. And this will help pull it in front of this other tree, stand out a little better there. A little more white, getting a little bit dark in here. Even this root sticking out is going to get some highlights here. It just sticks up. A little bit of this tree sticking out. He's got a little bit of a light catching where it sticks out further from the side. A little light catching up here. I see a little bit peeking back in here. And he's not yet eye-catching. So we're about to fix that. We're going to bring in a lot of this bright red. And we're going to bring in some liquid white into this to help brighten it up. There's a lot of crimson on the brush, so bring down some more of this There's a nice red. It doesn't really show up on the camera. Here, let me zoom this in a little bit, see if you can get a better view of what's the how bright red that really is. And there's the other trees there. We got our mountains in the background. And we really did cover over our better peaks there. That's okay. It sets the scene. You can tell that it's back there, and it really, the mountains weren't the show of the scene. They are just there as placeholders, setting the scene, giving the viewer something to look at back in here. We're going to finish out the water here. And so we're going to want to put some shoreline. The ground's got to have come out. So take our black and Van Dyke brown, and we're going to add a little bit of bank to this. Kind of frames in the water a little bit. We're going to have a little bit here where the water's kind of washed away by this tree. And so this goes around. I didn't get anything on there. How about that? You can see there's a little bit here poking out on the side before it goes back underneath the weeds. And I think today we might want some cattails. We're going to take a little bit of this, just add a couple of rocks, a little bit of variation in the shoreline here. It sticks out further from the land and gets more light. Kind of along the bottoms here. It doesn't seem like much when you're doing it, but it adds to the overall finished picture and look. We want to add a little bit of our color out here. These aren't going to be in the reflection necessarily here, but got a little color out in here, a little color here, some out in here. We got some trees kind of reflecting back in there, so let's clean off our brush a little bit for the liner brush, and we'll just add in some little bits of indication of some trunks out here. And then we save this brush so that we could pull down some color. You just grab and you pull it straight down. And then you gently go across. And this gives you your water that shimmer reflections. Now we need to cut in some water lines, and then we'll add in some extra little vegetation, maybe some, like I said, some cattails. So we're going to take some liquid white here, kind of gathered up on the knife, and we're just going to cut in some. And just like cutting into the canvas here. Kind of separates off the land from the water. Get that little foamy edge along the water a lot of times. You need to make sure that it's horizontal. You don't want your water sloping. These lines are always kind of perpendicular to the sky. It's really not. Have some water line coming around as it comes around here, I suppose, but for the most part where that's at, it's not useful. We're going to go back with our little round brush here, and we're going to take some Indian yellow. So we're going to have a few little things growing here. Well, there's something missing right here. So I'm going to go over top of this. I'm going to fix this tree, I think. But for some reason we didn't put that out there. Get a little liner brush here. Maybe we'll have some cattails. Get some green in there. Growing up right out of the water there. To be darker. Clean the brush off a little bit, go back into some more green. down, lightly across. And with that, fix this tree. All right. I think we're gonna add little bushes back in here too. I like that little red bit of color back here. We're gonna make it a bit brighter with some more white in it, because it is further back, but I like these little bushes. Kind of breaks up the landscape a little bit more. Brings a little more color in. With that, I think we'll sign it, and we'll call this one done. I'm going to sign it off into this corner today, just taking some of this bright red. And I think I will do the full name again today. Some oil in there, turn this down some. It's not going to be as visible. And I ran it right off the edge. Oh well. People will get the idea. I still need to find a better brush for my signature. I'm not happy with this brush yet. Tends to go too flat. Alright, there we have it. Hope you enjoyed painting along today, and if you did, please be sure to like this video, and if you want to see more of these videos in the future, subscribe. And I would love to hear your comments back on if you painted along, if you enjoyed this painting, and would you be willing to hang this on your wall? Because we are on our quest for wall-worthy art in 90 minutes or less, and I think this one there's a possibility that it would make it on my wall. I'm not to the point yet where I can always roll them off the brush, and that's what this journey is about, trying to figure out what just needs to go into a piece to really capture somebody's imagination, capture their view, and capture their intent to put it on their wall. So until next time, don't be too hard on yourself. Just remember, just keep painting. Take care.